This is the Round Table, a talk show brought to you by the Glastonbury Goddess Conference. In this circle, the priestesses of the ceremonial circle, the weavers of our annual gathering, talk about pivotal topics about our community, spirituality, and goddess. Beloved Goddess community, welcome to the Round Table, episode 11. Give this a round of applause. Woo! Episode 11, we're making it through so many episodes, and today the topic is particularly juicy, and it's an open question. So it's God is a woman. Of course, it's a very juicy topic for the Goddess community at large. Well, either you're following us today on Facebook, or if you follow us on YouTube or on our podcast, you're very welcome here. So please comment in, and we'll chat about your questions as well. I'm very glad to introduce today's panel: Amanda Baker.
Hello.
Caroline Stevens.
Hi, everybody.
Mariam Brigantia.
Hello.
Stephanie 𝙈𝙄𝙎𝙎𝙬𝙁.
Hello.
And Annabelle Duboulet.
Hi, guys.
It's fantastic to start with the questions of this topic. So the main question is, why does the age-old concept of the Great Mother still need to be revisited through the lens of patriarchal male gods? And also, how can we foster an approach to the spirit that does not base the divine solely on methods and paths traced by more recent patriarchal religions? Tough questions, as many of us deal with the goddess community and with the goddess spirituality after a first approach with patriarchal religions. We probably all come from patriarchal religions as we were growing up. So there is this clash at some point where we try to figure out what is our spirituality about and how our goddess spirituality differs from that patriarchal religion. So does the god we had before become god with a skirt or a female god, or does the spirituality of the goddess totally change the approach to divinity and God? To start this juicy topic, Stephanie 𝙈𝙎𝙎𝙎𝙬𝙁. There you go.
So I've been on the path with 𝘂𝘂 because I'm holding 𝘂𝘂 at the Goddess Conference this year. And it's been an amazing journey with her because she goes into that part of being non-judgmental, because people used to throw coins into her well when they wanted vengeance. So automatically, going with that theme of vengeance and judgment and forgiveness and all these things. So it's been very, very interesting, and how that was showing up for me in my personal life, working with her. And I was invited from the church to come and speak about my work with Goddess, which was really interesting because the church next door, I live right on the other side of the road, and that's where I teach my Moon Maiden classes, and they want to open up. So the churches here in Switzerland, not the Catholic churches, but the other ones want to open up more, and so they're very interested in the different faiths and trying to bring different faiths to the church, and people, just meeting each other. And I think that's actually a beautiful idea. But it was very interesting having that talk. So they told me that I should talk about my work. And I started off, of course, with how Goddess was calling me. And it was very interesting because they instantly went into with science. Like, this is not proven at all that there was a matriarchy. It was not proven, all the goddesses that were found. And then it was like, they said, it can be, that at one point in 2,000 years, the church will burn down and you will find all kinds of, Mother Mary's buried. And who is going to say that that's a goddess? And I'm like, me. So it was very, very interesting speaking about the different ways of how to look at things. And for me, the patriarchy is very like it's a given path, and more the spirituality or the goddess path that well, I've been on, I can only speak for myself, was really finding goddess inside of everything, inside of me, inside of you, inside of every plant, every breath, every stone, just everything, and really finding her. I must say that I've really worked with these questions myself, of only goddess, because I do work with the divine masculine and the divine feminine. So is it mother, father, God, or is it mother goddess and father God, bringing that actually together? I think that goddess at the moment, that's how I'm feeling it, is every time I ask into it, is that she says, open up for whatever wants to come through. I have many faces and I have many energies. And I think it's just us people that are separating everything because we need something to hold on to, or because it was a given path and we've known that. And maybe it's the unknown. Yeah, so it's really, really interesting that coming in. Anyway, the talk was, I actually only had an hour, and it went to 2.5 hours because the topic was so amazing, and they really opened up to different points of views, and it was absolutely fantastic. And they came afterwards and gave me their card, and they said, I want to continue this topic. It's really good. So they opened up to it, which was really beautiful. And I think that it's time that we build the new bridges, and let the old really go, and build new bridges and actually come to the table. Doesn't matter what kind of faith or what background you have, but actually what is it that we want to bring out, and what do we want to have in the future, and then just bring people to the table and find ways. So with working with 𝘠𝗎𝗍, is she's really been helping me in being, non-judgmental and being more in that place of, hey, let's find ways together, new ways, which has been very beautiful, because it's like letting go and stripping away all those angry parts, the witch hunts and all those things, but really just letting that go and saying, oh, I'm focusing now on what can we bring to the table to bring change. So that has been very beautiful with 𝘠𝗎𝗍. That's a bit off topic, but wanted to kind of bring that in because yeah.
I think it's really interesting what when the church said, oh, if something burns down and then one day they might find a Mary statue, and is that a goddess? I mean, we don't know that the people that carved the mammoth, the Venus figures of the Ice Age, we don't know what those were intended for. We don't know that they were a goddess. We don't know if they were a mother even, or whether but for me, it's very much about abundance. Somebody to have carved, for those ancestors to have carved those figures that are female in that sense, but they are abundant figures. They are from my interpretation of those is as a great mother. Whether they would have, I don't necessarily think there would have been the concept of goddess, but it was just that concept. These were Ice Age people where you didn't grow things, where being able to eat food and store fat on your body was abundant, wasn't it? It was amazing to have had that figure. So it was really recognizing the miracle and the magic of life in the seasons. And I think for me personally, that's where the Great Mother has come from, is that really ancestral, ancient place where just the very seasons were magical. That a tree 1 minute was dead, it was dead. Winter came and that tree, it was dead, and then life would have come back. And the moon died in the sky and then came back, and even the sun every day it's a miracle. And I think with science, we lose a lot of the miracles potentially, and the magic. But I think that is where for me, that's where that grey area starts coming in as science comes and disproves things. Do we actually take away a lot of the magic from the world?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, there is something in science, though. It's like, if we think about the trees, it's true that they take away a bit of old magic, but they bring in some new, because, for instance, science proves us that trees, for instance, they communicate. So sometimes science belittles our species, like we are the only one talking. We're not. So they just communicate in a different way. Fungi, they communicate marvelously. So I agree with that. taking both points here from Caroline and Stephanie, there was something though in the fact that those statuettes were women, actually, because for the first man, the sheer fact that the female part of the species could give birth to something, I think it was something absolutely amazing for them, and it was a mystery in a way. They had no clue how that happened. They didn't know nothing. So it was probably the highest form of divinity and magic they could imagine. Also, I mean, aside from the stars, of course, the sun and the seasons. So in that regard, at that time, possibly the female body was the expression of divinity to them, to mystery.
Yeah.
So, Marion, coming in.
Yes, well, I was thinking that you said abundance. I think it is what you just said, Andrea, as well. Fertility, it's the reproduction of life, whether it's plant life, tree life, human life. I think that was probably the mystery, but we don't know. They might actually have known and just honored this life-giving force. You don't know. Maybe they did know what we have a lot of assumption about the ancestors that they didn't know, and they were all a bit barbaric. And the more I learn about the ancestors, is actually the more they do know. And I find that they had like this really deep wisdom that we have lost, and this connection with the earth. So it's like, for me, it's like the difference. I come from a Catholic background, and the difference between me and between Goddess now and the way I have my devotion now, and it was in the church. It was it's like a bit like you said as well, Stephanie. She is everywhere, and it is really about the beauty and the abundance and the fertility. But it's also in me, and I know in the Christian, more esoteric teachings, God is like that as well. I think the church has actually made that separation, and if we talk now about God, we see the Christian's God, but of course in the nature religions, in the pagan religion, there is the God as well. So and that's not the same energy. But so I'm babbling a little bit, but what I'm feeling is that there's a lot of concepts that we are kind of assuming they are all separate. But I think that it's more really about our place in the world and how to connect with that. And I think through the feminine energy of Goddess, it was something that was very close and understandable. Even now, it's now, even now, it's maybe more understandable than the way that the masculine. I mean, it's the terms, they are always so they have so much exclusion in them. But that's the feminine is more like the bringing together. But actually, for me, the divine can also go over that and go over the two sides, the feminine, masculine, and also just be this energy of creation and this energy of healing, and this like the great spirit. And I think it's really good to realize that we as humans have made all these separations, have made all these names, and then the church made it even more separate. I think it's good to realize that we are responsible as human beings to all these, names like God, Goddess, divine, feminine, divine, masculine. So just think that came up to me.
Yeah, that's true.
And in the end, we don't know, Actually, we don't know, because everything is so open and there are so many different points of views, in all religions, and it's more, I think it's more that the message that maybe we should all just start feeling more and accepting and being tolerant of another person's path or relationship to God, Goddess. that it's more about that, because in the end, nobody knows, actually, you know.
That's
I think
the
more
mystery.
Yeah, the more structured things, say ritual, religion become, that's where, as Marion said, you get that compartmentalizing, don't you? You get the linear, the kind of putting things into boxes. Whereas when we're working, I think a lot of pagan paths expand beyond that into the more of the energetics. So, as you say, Marion, we've given, as humans have given deity the title of God and goddess, but and in one way, because we are human beings, we need to be able to articulate what we're trying to say. So it's just the comfort factor that those are the titles or the words, the language that we use at the moment. But I think a lot of pagan people have energy behind that. So when they're a goddess worshipper, I would hope that they are thinking of all energies, really, of what you would class as divine masculine, divine feminine. In the Goddess Conference, we work with goddess energies, but we very much honor as well. In the Temple of Avalon, for example, you've got both. There's the divine feminine and the masculine statues, aren't there, in there? And a lot of pagan paths weave in both. And as you said, it's us that have given us those boxes that we're putting divinity into, really.
Yes, and I think with our conditioning from the Christian, I think we all have this cultural, maybe not even on a spiritual level, but cultural. We are all conditioned into the Christian thinking, and it's like, I think you really have to step into a more expanded awareness and consciousness. What we are doing, and you could say deeper or higher or whatever, but even more expanded. That's you don't have to see goddess in a shape, in a form, like we learn to see God in a shape, in a form, in a format, but actually more open. I don't know. What do you think, Amanda?
It's so interesting, because I think for me it's such an individual, like if it's just me, woman, priestess, then I'm very much, the divine source is an energy, and then I see it personified and embodied in various archetypal figures of goddesses and gods that make sense to me in ancient myth. But if I think back to when I began on my path, when I was 19 and studying my BA in English at that point, and I had just read all the Greek myths, and then I was studying the Christian mystics. And at that point, I rang my father, age 19, and said, "Why is God male?" So for me, the reclaiming of the feminine divine and of goddess is political. And I experienced this even more when I had my daughters, and I would take them into a church, and I began to listen to the prayers through their ears, where it was Father, God, Holy Spirit, and there was no mother, there was no daughter, there was no goddess. And so for me, it is very political. I think it's incredibly important to reclaim the feminine divine and goddess. I think how that feels to you is a different thing. Like, I can feel that as a all-encompassing energy. But when I have fought this argument politically, and people have said to me, but it's irrelevant, it's just an energy, it doesn't need a gender. No. I'm actually, this is really important politically in society. We have to reclaim, because the words, the semantics that are used to explain divinity, God, Father, Son, whatever, then actually, no, we have to reclaim goddess, feminine, divine, daughter. That feels really, really important to me. And it's not that I'm being stuck in that patriarchal concept. I'm just reclaiming that within that concept that is the mainstream, and that feels important.
It's like how Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie would say, it's the importance of stories. our species thrives and survives thanks to and also lives on stories. So what you're saying is there is this huge history book of male gods, and there is no trace of goddess. So it's political to reclaim that. The question is, do you feel that the way you reclaim that for you, does it hold? Because in a way, aside from the absence, in the Holy Trinity of a woman, there's also an absence of recognition of the gifts of the female part of the species, and that's kind of the point. While I feel in your reclaiming of the female story, um, there is an openness. So in that way, God is, to reply to the questions of today's topic, God is not just a woman in your take, but is a woman, but also there is an openness, because the lacks in the patriarchal religion that that you mentioned before. So it's not like you are creating a triarchy of goddesses where there are no males allowed and no trace of male intelligence or a form of life, which is greatly differs, I feel. And I agree with the importance of stories. So what you're telling us is something we didn't touch yet. It's the political importance of those stories. Have you ever felt in your path, which is also really academic, have you ever felt that there was not just the female women were not just forgotten but erased from the from the cult, from the
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and you see it. I mean, it happens with the first patriarchal myth, the 𝙈𝙗𝙎𝙬𝙀 in ancient Babylon, and that's the first time that the mother goddess Tiamat is defeated by the sun god, by her son Marduk, and that's the beginning of the patriarchy coming in. And then as you trace it down the millennia through the mythos, it literally inverts the ancient pagan beliefs. But for me, it just makes so much sense, the original mythos, that the mother goddess is Zoe, she's infinite life, and the god is Bios, finite life. She births him, he grows, he becomes her lover, he decays, he dies, and then he's reborn again. So it just makes total sense to me that there must be this sacred marriage, and that she is the concept of Zoe. She's infinite life, and he is Bios, finite life, and he comes from her and returns to her, just as we come from the earth and return to her. So that for me just makes total and utter sense, and there's no one is better than the other. Both are absolutely fundamental to life. They are life. They are the two aspects of life, the infinite and then the finite. So that for me just makes total and utter sense. And I think the patriarchal complete twist on that, I sometimes think, if you were an alien and you were looking down at us and on this patriarchal concept that it's all father god and nothing to do with goddess or woman, it's like, how insane is that? Like, it's insanity, literally. That's my rather radical viewpoint on that.
No, absolutely.
What about you, Amanda?
Well, I'm listening to what everyone said, and I keep going back in my thoughts about how a woman steps upon her goddess journey, her discovery, and I think that for me it was a journey of finding myself and taking a woman's journey and in seeking healing on my path. As I went deeper into that journey, and I think many women do this, I started to feel and discover the divine feminine. And as I went deeper and deeper and deeper on that journey and through my own healing, that communion, that sacredness with her became more and more, and it led me slowly down that path to train as a priestess to go into working in that way. And I think from there, I was able to work and understand the sacred union with masculine, the divine masculine, but that came later.
Yes.
So I had to find my own way, my own heart, my own reclaim, as I was talking about, the lost pieces in my ancestry, in my mother line. You know, my mother was a 1950s housewife, and before her, you know, my grandmother was in service. There has to be a discovery of our own femininity. For me, I had to discover my own femininity, my own sacredness, my own divinity, and then my own connection with the divine feminine.
I think a lot of women have gone on that journey, because I think what has happened, there was this beautiful myth from Susan Wheat, who writes about, you know, how goddess came to be, was destroyed, and then is returning. And in that story, it's so clear that the thing with God was that it was used as a tool or even a weapon to suppress women and to bring the masculine up, the man up. And I'm you know, I'm really the first to say that it's, you know, that has also been very damaging for a lot of men and other people. But I think the return of the goddess, the return of the feminine in our consciousness has definitely helped women to reclaim their self-worth. And I think next to the fact that, you know, it's also there's I think for me there's two streams. There's one of them, my own journey, that as well, Amanda. I really resonate with that. Like, I really had to reclaim that divine feminine and my connection with her before I was ready to actually step and make my relationship with the divine masculine. I really kind of really needed that to kind of find myself again as woman. But also, I think on a great scale for all people, I think there is something lost in losing goddess. I think it is very pertinent for women, but I think actually for the whole of society, it is so important to bring goddess back and to bring her back in a healthy, mothering, nurturing, loving, healing way, and not in the way that, you know, it's been in patriarchy. The God has been portrayed like punishing, revengeful, all these judgmental, all these energies. So I think there's a personal journey to do with goddess, but also societal for all people.
I was just thinking that exact thing with society, because it's so easy for me personally to forget that everybody on this screen is, you know, what I class up as my people. We're all kind of talking. We might have slightly different opinions, but we're all here celebrating goddess, and everybody that comes to the conference. But we are still such a small drop in the ocean where where this. And as Annabelle said, that this is almost a political thing. You know, there are still so many schools, places, parts of society where there is not this. You know, we're not even in a realm of talking close to balance yet. Nowhere close to balance. It is still, I completely, you know, insane still in a lot of for so many people. And I think that's one of the things for me with the conference that is just so powerful, and especially, you know, trying to be visible on social media and trying to spread that, you know, spread the word without it being that Christian sense, but to be more visible and to say there is this, you know, there's another way. Let's try to bring back goddess. It's not, this isn't a new creation. We're trying to bring back what was here before.
Remind them.
Yes, it's just a remembering, isn't it? And hopefully at one point in the not too distant future, there will be a beautiful place of balance where we have the healthy, where everybody has this, there is this healthy balance in society as a norm. And that will be an amazing thing, but we're not there yet. And I forget sometimes that we're quite a far thing in the distance, because the people that I relate with are very similar, but there's still so many people, and so it's.
I think there's in everybody there's like this place, if it's conscious or unconscious, that's looking for the nurturing mother in all of us, or that sense of belonging. And I always try to remind myself that it has not only been women that that suffered under patriarchy. I mean, also a lot of men who suffered under patriarchy, and also how looking at things that were said to men, you shouldn't feel or else you're going to be weak, and all these things, and still there is this place inside of everybody that's looking for that place of belonging and place of nurturing that is the great mother. And just to kind of remind ourselves again that we are all allowed to tap into that place, and maybe just open up. It doesn't matter how it doesn't have to have a name or a picture. Be like just remembering that we are all belonging, and we all are allowed to tap into that place of what are we missing, and that is actually the energy of the Great Mother.
I think there's a lot of aspect, of course. I mean, in the ceremonial group, we even find it difficult to kind of work with one aspect from an archetype, So there's so many aspects of and I think for me personally, going back to the question, it's like, so what is for me personally different between the goddess and the god, or god and goddess, is that for me, I know, because I come from the Christian background, God is for me still that Christian God, and not so much the God that you were talking about, Annabelle, the finite and the infinite. But it's for me, it's really there's two things. Is actually to find my true nature as woman, or as person, and in the interconnectedness with all of life and all of nature. And I think that for me, that is the biggest difference in devotional connection between what I had with God and what I have now with Goddess, is that there is this interconnectedness, that I am part of life, I am in life, I am in her realm, in her being, and I'm part of that. And so for me, that is the greatest belonging, really. It's like that. It's like, I can't even say it's love. It's more than that. It's just being one with all of life. And I don't walk around all the time feeling this, but I have moments that I think, oh yeah, that's for me is the big difference. It's an experiential. It's not a mind thing. It's not even a heart thing. It's like a really all-encompassing experience for me. So that's, I was thinking about the question, like, what's the difference between our experience of God and Goddess?
Well, I think you made an excellent point of one thing, though. First, your contribution to this shows that the Goddess people are absolutely incapable of excluding people and and other energies, which is great, because it's the polar opposite of the patriarchy. So I applaud you for that. But I know that, and I truly love that. To weave in everything you said, I feel that maybe it's not that it's like divinity is like a book we read, but it's also a book we write in a way. So what I see as a parallel is that in the book we write of divinity, the history and the divinity that was written for us, let's say in the past centuries, was one of exclusion of women, of belittling of women. So we go to that. Amanda said brilliantly. Again, it's a path of the seeker, again, where you seek for your divine feminine. You seek for, I mean, even myself, to me, she is goddess. And I mean, I'm fabulous, but I'm not. I'm not biologically woman. So the point is that I feel in that space of goddess, we can feel there is a place for all the pariahs, for all the people who were belittled, for all the people that history did not give a god to. So goddess became this life form that became the divine feminine, and in a way, if we look at that, we write the book of divinity in a way. It's also, I mean, I was called feminine in a number of ways, a number of times, sorry, but not as a matter of fact. It was just a way to belittle me. So in a way, the fact that it was more feminine was like I think I had a defect in a way, and that is stupid and laughable, but it's a symptom of how we behave still as a species and as a society. So to raise a goddess, to bring that, that what our society and our culture feels needs to be demolished and belittled and make it divine, I think it's just incredible, and it's incredible work we all weave and we all do. Before we go back to this, I would love to introduce you one of the ceremonialists who's not here with us today, and she's also weaving a lot of magic in the goddess world.
Welcome to the Goddess Web. We are so excited to tell you about this new amazing streaming platform that we are launching. An amazing place for goddess wisdom and voices internationally, presentations and offerings that will be by subscription. This amazing new experience is a unique creation that will bring you the Goddess Conference, the Glastonbury Goddess Conference, in your home. It is going to be a development that we are working on every year. And so, for example, this year subscribers will receive an experience of the Goddess of Healing Conference that will give you access all year round to these extraordinary wisdom keepers who will be presenting specially designed contexts that you can't find anywhere else, not even if you come to us in the in-person conference. So please come and check us out. The Goddess Web is open from today for subscriptions, and we so look forward to sharing this amazing platform, this online experience from the heart of the Glastonbury Goddess Conference with you all.
Thank you, Katinka, for this. So back to us a second. How do you feel about this? And thank you to you for the answers you gave and this beautiful thing you wove. And I think we got to a truly pivotal point here. So is God a woman in a way that goddess is the mother that welcomes us to find a new way of experiencing divinity for this age?
Mic drop. I think it's definitely an invitation. I think that's one of the things that the Goddess Conference very much embodies. Is like an invitation to just experience something different. I don't know. I think everybody had that for the first time when they got to go to the Goddess Conference. It's like, oh, this is different. This is something that I want to know more of. I want to experience more. And for me, for instance, I mean, there's loads of things that were in there, but one of the things that I really felt was that the joy and the singing. And it's like everybody is so serious in our society. And so I think yes, I think God is for me, I would say, I think an invitation to, how can we think, be open, different, in a good way, in a beautiful way.
I think, yeah, for me as well, goddess is definitely, it's an invitation. Definitely so. I like the fact that the word includes both words. If we're getting semantic with it, so you've got God and goddess, you know, they're all combined together. And I think, Andrea, it was you that said something about lifting goddess up. And for me at the conference, when we have the procession, I always get the goosebumps when the wicker goddess comes out of the town hall on the Sunday and just gets lifted up, and I'm getting them now as I'm saying it. So just that image of goddess being lifted. And I know this happens in places in Spain with saints and different things, and other countries. But for me to see that in this country, to see the figure of goddess being lifted in front of anybody that happens to be walking past, it's wonderful. And then to process with her and to honour her is just, it's beautiful. And that is an invitation for me. So if I knew nothing about goddess at all, but happened to just be in Glastonbury on that day, it's an amazing invitation, isn't it, to ask more, to question, and to find your own way. Yeah.
And I think that's the difference for me. I think Marion touched on this because I was brought up Protestant, and so my experience of God was of a solitary figure, and my experience of goddess is that different aspects of her, different embodiments of her, have come and initiated me. So Sophia, Bridget, at one point Rhiannon, you know, and they, when she comes in those embodiments, she is absolutely tangible as that goddess. That is not me projecting a personification onto the energy of goddess. She, you know, each goddess who has come and initiated me has been an incredibly tangible experience with that aspect of goddess, and that for me is the difference. I never experienced that variety of different aspects of God in my life. There was just one, Father God, whereas goddess moves through all these different embodiments, energies in a very tangible way. And I think that is, you know, the power of the Goddess Conference is working with these different aspects of her, and you can be touched by each of them, and it touches that archetype deep within your own psyche and unlock something for you. Yeah.
And I think also, following on from that, you know, the different times of your life when you are facing different challenges or opportunities, or particularly for me, what I'm thinking about here is that when we raised the Manchester Goddess Temple, she spoke to us very strongly that there was no walls to her temple. So we walked the streets of Manchester, and it was a time of terrible, distressing homelessness. And when we spoke to people, it all spoke about the mother energy. There was one man in particular that talked about the mother of this land of Manchester. Their need, their real need was of the nurturing mother, of the nourishing mother, the mother who would provide, hold and love, especially, you know, desperate, despairing adult people in their child selves needed that presence of the mother. And that was the aspect of goddess that was flowing through. Whereas at times, like you were talking about, Annabelle, there are archetypes for us, aspects of goddess that are many, multiple and multifaceted, that come and speak and initiate.
And you're so right, Danny, like this primal need for the mother, and you see that in the history of the Catholic Church, where they try to eradicate her, but the human need to worship Mary and the cult of the Virgin Mary is what drove them to have to honor her, because it's so primal in us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you see this in southern Italy when you've got these, you know, really macho, you know, mafioso guys, and they are on their knees, you know, in pilgrimage, weeping in their utter devotion to the Madonna.
Well, what a miraculous story, though. What a miraculous story with the Immaculate Conception. It's isn't it? It's the ultimate goddess, really.
Yes, the fertility goddess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was a bit of a turmoil for the marketing team that wrote the Bible. They were like, we cannot really erase her. What are we going to do here? They came up with that. Sorry, Amanda, I interrupted you. Amanda, please.
No, that's just something that was coming to me about how at different times and different needs, how she shows her face in so many different ways, multiple ways, all encompassing.
And I think it's also, again, the complete trust place, because with Goddess, we don't always get what we want, we get what we need. It's not a given path, but that is just the wonderful thing she gives us.
Oh, yes.
Sometimes it's like, okay.
It can also be fierce. It can also be strong and fierce and challenging.
Absolutely. And she brings out all those places in us too. So she shines all those different archetypes and faces and energies through, and just shows us we have those too. And I think it's finding the way back to that.
I think that's what I meant with it is our natural state. You know, it's not our natural state to be suppressed. It's not our natural state to be in war. It's not our natural state. This is not, you know, it's, I think the goddess really represents far more what I don't think it's, some people say, oh yeah, it's all fluffy, but I don't think that's what it is. It's like the opportunity and the invitation and to have a full life experience without being suppressed, without being conditioned, to have the chance to discover life with all its ups and downs and all its challenges. And for me, in that journey where there's no human suppression, human conditioning that is brought up through patriarchy on us, I think that is really the way of goddess.
It goes back to that invitation again, doesn't it? Rather than dogma, there's just lots and lots of questions. So it's not like there's a handbook to turn to and then just have to mindlessly follow those words. It's all, like you say, so many aspects and just an invitation to, well, what are you going to do? There's for me personally, there's a huge element of self-responsibility. I can't just blame it on a book or on some. Yeah, there's very much that question of what are you going to do? This is up to you.
An empowerment.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
And I would love to take a moment to acknowledge all your wonderful works with Goddess. So Stephanie is running a center, and you can find her online with Pure Heart Make a Change. Marion, we know Marion, of course, but the most important part is she has a book coming out, so she will be launching that at Goddess Conference. Annabelle, please check out AnnabelleDuboulay.com and of course on Instagram, as well as Carolyn, where you can find her at Priestess of Brigantia. And Amanda Baker, we want a book from you, absolutely, because I am dying to get my hands on it. We want a book from you. Yes. We want a book from you, because you're always so knowledgeable and so inspired, and we really want a book from you. So please write one. And yes, so I think we can definitely say that God is a woman. It's not the proper question, but we do have an answer, which is that all the goddess ways that you are bringing to the Goddess Conference, but also to the world, are indeed something totally different from the patriarchal religions where we all grew up. And that is beautiful and makes room for a new world to happen. I would love to go on for another 3 hours, but we cannot. So we'd love to thank the current panel for today, which is Stephanie 𝙀𝙀𝙀𝙀.
Bye. Thank you.
Mariam Brigantia.
Thank you.
Annabelle Duboulet.
Bye.
Caroline Stevens.
Bye.
And the writer, Amanda Baker.
Bye.
Thank you all so much for being here with us. Please check out goddessconference.com and do not forget to book your ticket to participate to our wonderful yearly gathering in Glastonbury, Avalon.
Join us this year for the 29th Glastonbury Goddess Conference, a joyful gathering of goddess-loving people, a 6 days in-person event in Glastonbury, Avalon, running from Tuesday 30th July to Sunday 4th August 2024, with the fringe events starting from Sunday 28th July. This year the theme is the Goddess of Healing. It's our maiden year, the first year of a new 5-year cycle. International presenters, transformative workshops and experiences, deep ceremonies on the sacred land of Avalon, community, art, fun, and love for Goddess. Let your healing journey begin this year. Join us for the Glastonbury Goddess Conference, Goddess of Healing. This is the Round Table, a talk show brought to you by the Glastonbury Goddess Conference. In this circle, the priestesses of the ceremonial circle, the weavers of our annual gathering, talk about pivotal topics about our community, spirituality, and Goddess.